For the win! Yes! Yes! Oh! Unbelievable!
Welcome back, everybody. This is Sharpsiders. I'm Jay Daniels. I got Eddie Wayne with me. Today we're going to talk about Final Four matchup. We're going to talk about Kentucky versus Wisconsin. We got some good information for you. We're going to give you that information. We're going to give you some trends, some stats, so you can have a better idea on which side you want to go with.
I think this game is a little more difficult than the other game. Even though the spread is equal in both games, both of them are sitting right now about that 5 range. This one opened up 6, 6.5, depending on where you saw it. And then we know one of the big, well-respected betting syndicates came in early, hopped on Wisconsin, but that doesn't really say much about anything. I mean, I think this move is more geared towards which side the public was going to be on, knowing that a lot of the bettors would be on Wisconsin coming into this game. I think they just wanted to get out ahead of the market and get that bet in there, kind of knock down some of the line a little bit, just so that they can get that 6 before it moved down to the 5, sometimes maybe 4.5 range.
Wisconsin, I was telling everybody about Wisconsin. Watch out for them. They can really spread the floor. They can light up the 3. And they got. Kaminsky's he's a big fella down there. He's going up for the Wooden Award. So I think it's gonna be a good game. Kentucky's gonna have their hands full. If any one of the teams in this tournament can knock down Kentucky, I think Wisconsin is the team. I think that they play the same kind of game as Notre Dame does, except they're bigger. They got Dekker is a 6'9" guard basically, so they're gonna have Kentucky's gonna have their big men come out and guard him on the 3-point line, and I think it's going to be a difficult matchup for their big men.
We saw them having the struggling with Notre Dame's guys. Notre Dame spread the floor out, and when they had Cully Stein and Towns in there, and sometimes had a couple of their other big guys come off the bench, they were really struggling to keep up with Notre Dame's guys out on the wings, and we saw that, and that's why the game was so close. And I think Wisconsin can definitely play a similar game to what Notre Dame did. But this also gives Calipari a week to kind of prepare and take a look at what went wrong in the Notre Dame game. And I think every team has one of those games along the way where it could go either way. Any championship game, UConn last year could have lost in the first round. I believe they even went to overtime in their first game, and then they go on to run and win the national championship. So I think there's always 1 or 2 games in the NCAA tournament where a team can slip up and either lose the game off one play or win the game off one play.
Things that, I'd like to point out during some of the research that I was doing is, this is going to be the first time since March 3rd when against Georgia when University of Kentucky was less than a double-digit favorite. If you look at all their games, they've been double-digit favorites. But this is the first time since that game that they're going to be a single-digit favorite. And if you look at that game, they didn't cover that game. They failed to cover the spread in that. And another thing on the as far as Wisconsin is the past 2 games, they've covered both of the spreads, and they were a slight underdog in that Arizona game, and they actually won outright. So it's just a couple things to look at. If you look back in the last 10 years for the Final Four matchups, the underdog is actually 15-9-1 against the spread, with 12 straight-up wins. So that's just something to look at in the last 10 years of the Final Four.
Yeah, that's definitely something we kind of pointed towards in our last video. The team that often covers the game is often the team that wins the game. So if you think Wisconsin is going to win this game, go ahead and bet them plus the 5 right now that they're getting. Maybe even put something on the money line so that you can get even better return on your bet that you've placed. Really, this tournament is so unpredictable sometimes, and the media has a big influence on it. That's for sure. I was listening to Jay Wright today head coach of Villanova, talking about how one year his team was a 12 seed. They made it to the Sweet 16, but if you look at it, the season was deemed a success because they made it to the Sweet 16. But they played Siena, a 13 seed, who just upset a 4 seed in the first round. So that made their road a little bit easier to get there. And then, Villanova ended up getting smacked by the eventual national champion in Kansas. But again, that season was deemed a success. And then you look at them last year, they were number 2 seed. Second round, they lose to the eventual national champs again, and the season was deemed a failure. So, I mean, the media technically, they blow a lot of things out of proportion a lot of the time.
It's unpredictable, but one thing I do want to point out is going back to that comment that you said where usually the team that covers wins the game. If you look back the last 20 years, I was talking about 10 years before, but if you could take it one step further, look back 20 years, the underdog is actually 21-18 against the spread, but 21 of those spread wins, 16 of them were straight up wins. So like you were saying, it's usually the team that covers the spread wins the game. So 16 out of 21 spread covers were straight up wins as an underdog.
That's going to tie into another thing that we're going to talk about a little bit in our next video, and that's about basketball teasers. Please, just do not tease basketball games. They're just, you're not going to win long term with them.
All right, that's going to conclude it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to bring you some tips, some college basketball betting tips. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, I'll put the links for Jay Daniels and Eddie Wayne right down below. We like to interact with our followers. You can send us tweets, you can send us direct messages. We post a lot of information, some stats, some free plays. If you'd like to purchase any of our picks, you can email us at sharpsiders@yahoo.com. I'll put the link again right down below me. We like to sell them for about $10 to $20 a pick. We understand you guys are, placing some decent amount of money on your bets. You don't want to spend that much money on picks because, you want to make a profit. So we like to keep it reasonable. We'll charge about $10 to $20. But like I said, that's going to conclude it for this episode. And until next time, happy betting, guys.
For the win! Yes! Yes!